The Italian Wine Podcast is the community-driven platform for Italian wine geeks around the world. Support the show by donating at ItalianWinepodcast.com. Donate €5 or more and we'll send you a copy of our latest book, My Italian Grape Geek Journal, absolutely free. To get your free copy of My Italian Grape Geek Journal, click Support Us at ItalianWinepodcast.com or wherever you get your pods. Grazie mille.
Welcome to Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Listen in as we journey to some of Italy's most beautiful places in the company of those who know them best, the families who grow grapes and make fabulous wines. Through their stories, we will learn not just about their wines, but also about their ways of life, the local and regional foods and specialities that pair naturally with their wines, and the most beautiful places to visit. We have a wonderful journey of discovery ahead of us, and I hope you will join me. Welcome to Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Today we travel to Veneto and to the foothills of Valdobbiadene Conegliano to visit, no, not a wine producer, but a distillery in San Pietro di Filetto to meet Dominic Zucchetto, export sales manager of Maschio Beniamino. Buongiorno, Dominic. Thank you for being my guest today. How are you?
Buongiorno, Mark. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for your invite. Everything is well, thank you. What about yourself?
Oh, it's a nice day here in southwest England. At last, summer has arrived. It's looking forward to the weekend. Yes.
Lucky you.
Yes, climate's really topsy-turvy everywhere.
Because here in Italy, we're having a bit of not the best of weathers, actually. For the last couple of months, it's been like raining every few times. So not ideal, not very Italian-like.
Now, Dominic, for our listeners who are located all around the world, can you describe where you are, where San Pietro di Filetto and the distillery is located, what the country is like? I'm imagining you're tucked under the Prosecco wine hills with the Alps rising behind. Is that more or less correct?
Yes, that's exactly correct. That's a great image you created for everyone. So basically, yes, we're in San Pietro di Filetto. That is in the Conegliano Valdobbiadene area of production of Prosecco, the OCG. That is one of the top quality Proseccos that you can find when talking about this wine. We're in San Pietro di Filetto. That is one of 19 municipalities where the wine can be produced. It's a hilly area. Basically, all around us we have vines, Glera vines, and in the background we have the Alps. So we're just at the foot of the Eastern Alps in Italy.
Okay, that's a great visual for our listeners. Now, before we move on to the story of Distilleria dell'Alpe, tell us a little bit about yourself. You were actually born in London, is that right?
Exactly, yes. I was born in Harrow, so just outside of London, in 1991, but my family, my grandparents were on my dad's side Italian. On my mum's side, my granddad was Irish and my grandmum was from Venice. So Italian origins. After the war, obviously my grandparents, all of them, moved to the UK for work issues to find a job because here in Italy it wasn't that easy. And there my parents met because of their Italian origins. And my brother was born, I was born, and then we decided to move back to Italy. So I've been living in Italy for the last 32 years in obviously an English family. So my English, luckily I have a good level of English because at home we always spoke English. And I'm trying to use that now also in the work environment with my export, with my foreign markets. So yeah, that's the brief history behind my life, let's say, up to now.
Okay, that's really interesting to hear. Now, let's have the story of Maschio Beniamino and the Distilleria dell'Alpe.
Absolutely. So Beniamino Maschio was one of 13 siblings. He was the third generation of producers because Maschio has always been a very renowned surname in the Grappa world. So in 1964, he founded his own business in San Pietro di Filetto. And obviously, the company has always been renowned for the production of Grappa. So the main focus was Grappa. initially the company didn't have vines, so it didn't produce wine, but it's only purchased the grape skins after the production of wines from other producers. So Beniamino Maschio, let's say, represents the production of grappa in the area. In 2002, Beniamino Maschio decided to acquire two other small businesses. One is the Distilleria dell'Alpe, that is a small distillery that was situated in Bastia del Pago. Bastia del Pago is a small village in the province of Belluno at the foot of the Cansiglio forest. That's a very famous forest that we have in the Northern Alps. So it decided to acquire the distillery to relaunch its products, because it has a very important background as in production. Just think, for example, that Beniamino Maschio today offers a vast selection of gins, because obviously gin is very important in the market today. But Distilleria dell'Alpe already used to produce a gin in the 1950s called Forestal Gin. So when you think about gin, yes, you have an incredible amount of companies today that produce gin, but started producing gin maybe 5-10 years ago when the big boom arrived. But Distilleria dell'Alpe was already producing it over 70 years ago. So it makes you understand the history behind the company. Not only the gin, but also the liqueur, the Caprio liqueur, that's very well known here in the area. And also the Rosenbitter, that's another product. Everyone today knows that big brand that I won't mention, but Rosenbitter the brand was registered already in 1951. So it makes you understand that Distilleria dell'Alpe is very important, as in heritage, let's say, of its production. And also Maschio Beniamino, yes, acquired also the Bernarda Azienda Agricola, that is basically a small winery, still in 2002. And this to offer a full selection of products. So nowadays we're able to offer a vast selection of products. But the important thing that I want to mention is that we're still an independent family-owned business. So it's not like we have a big group behind us. It's still small productions, extremely small productions, with quality as the key ingredient. Quality always has to be at first place when talking about the products from the Maschio Beniamino Group.
Okay, that's a good overview of the history of the company, of the origins of the company, of this very typical of the Italian spirit that we think of, particularly in Veneto, Lombardy, Piemonte, Trentino Alto Adige, la grappa, made from the grape pomace. And of course, with so many wine producers in the Treviso area in Valdobbiadene, I guess there was always a good supply of fresh vinace to distill, and that was really the origins. Is that right, Dominic?
Absolutely. In fact, what basically the idea of purchasing the De Bernard winery was to reach this full circle. So obviously we were buying grape skins vinace, as you said. That's great terms you have there in Italian, I must say. But the vinace, yes, we used to buy it from our producers to make our own grappa. But nowadays, after 2002, that we have the Bernard winery, we can do all this process internally. So we make the Prosecco, we press the grapes, we make the Prosecco, we do the fermentations. And then with the grape skins, we go and distill them. So it's a way also, as I said before, to close the circle. Nothing goes to waste, because after that, the grape skins are used in the vineyards. I think it's also very good nowadays, considering all the environmental impact and everything. It's a great way to close the circle, let's say.
Yeah, that's true, because, it's worth reminding that grappa really makes use of what otherwise would be a waste product after the grapes have been pressed, using the skins after fermentation, using those skins, the grape pomace, to create something quite special.
Absolutely.
Italian Wine Podcast. If you think you love wine as much as we do, then give us a like and a follow anywhere you get your pods.
I'd like to talk about a product you mentioned and maybe have a little more information about some of the liqueurs that are typical of Venetian traditions. You mentioned the Liquore Capriol Classico, which was the original basis for the Distilleria dell'Alpe. Is that right? Tell us about this.
Absolutely. So, Capriol Classico was basically the first product that was produced by the Distilleria dell'Alpe back in the 1950s. It's basically a distillation of juniper berries that were found and are found today as well in the Consiglio forest that I mentioned before, with the addition of other different herbs and spices. So basically, it's 18 different botanicals, and all of them were found in the Consiglio forest at the time. So it's a very typical traditional liqueur. And it was as I mentioned before, it was very well known, especially in the area at the time. It was one of the most, let's say, common liqueurs that you would find in bars and restaurants. And also, it's interesting because of the Capriol liqueur that we then have the Forestal gin, because basically you're starting with a distillation of juniper berries. And as you obviously know, juniper berries distilled is the base for gin. So after that, with the adding of different botanicals, they also created the gin. But the Liquore Capriol, I think, is very characteristic. It's around 40% alcohol, so it's quite strong, but still very well balanced by the sugar that's added. It's a perfect digestive drink, as we would say here in Italy. You would have it after a meal just to help digestion.
Is it more like an Amaro then?
No, it's more pungent, as both in aroma and in taste, because you have the distillation. So obviously the distillation concentrates a lot more the aromas and the taste. We do have an Amaro, that's the Amaro del Consiglio, and that was created a few years after, so it's still an historic product of the Distilleria dell'Alpe, but that is an infusion. So as you said, it's easier as in a product. It's less alcohol. It's around 25% alcohol percentage. And here as well, you have a mix of different botanicals, herbs and spices. It tends to be slightly bitter, but at the same time, it's well balanced by the sugar. And what's interesting about the Amaro, like I'm crazy for Amaros. I love Amaros. I always love to try different types of Amaros because I think it's a beautiful expression of our culture and of our tradition. And I'll give you a hint if you want that I think it's something that is going to take place a lot, especially in Italy. It's starting to now. An Amaro, if you put it like the typical aperitivo, instead of the usual Aperol spritz or spritz with the bitter, you put the Amaro instead, like or Amaro del Consiglio, for example, and it's a really great drink, nice and refreshing. You have that slightly bitterness, and it's an incredible drink. I would definitely recommend you try one.
Oh, that does sound good. And I'd like to talk about both cocktails and about the culture of aperitivo as we move on in our chat. But Dominic, let's turn now to gin. You mentioned the historical origins of gin, certainly with the Distilleria dell'Alpe, but you also mentioned the more recent boom in gins. As you know, because I know you come to the UK often, there's been an explosion of craft gin here in the UK. You know, new distilleries are popping up all the time, and you can go into a simple pub and you're offered a gin list with maybe 8 craft gins on it. It's been an incredible happening here. Has that happened also in Italy?
Absolutely. It's crazy the amount, like, it's a funny way of saying, but we like to say that basically gin producers pop up just like mushrooms in the forest. So it's to make you understand how many new gin producers you have continuously. I must say that we see that the gin trend, let's say in Europe mostly, is settling a bit now. So while it's incredibly developing in other countries, it's settled down a little bit now. I think that what gave an extra boost is definitely all these new aromatized gins that we also do. Like, for example, we have for the Capriol line, we have the grapefruit and hibiscus, we have the bergamot and lemon. So these are more appealing, refreshing, summery types of gin that obviously get people wanting to try gin as well. But I think that in the end, what will remain is the traditional gin. So either being a London dry or a distilled gin, it's that one that will always remain, as it always has, because it's basically it's a drink that goes back to the 1600s, if not before. And so that's what I always like to taste. Yes, it's nice to have the new versions, but I always like to taste the classic ones to see, because I think that there you really see the quality that's put into the product. For example, just to give you a quick example, like our Caprio Gin, the dry one, it's still the same recipe that the Foresta Gin had. So it's a recipe that has 15 botanicals, but we have no citrus inside. So that's very uncommon for gins, because normally you put some citrus, either being orange peel, lemon peel, whatever it is, but to give it that freshness. In our case, we have, let's say, it's a more balsamic type of gin. And that's something I always like to explain to people, because we didn't go and change the recipe just to be more, let's say, original, but we still keep the same recipe for the traditional dry Caprio gin as it was back in the 1950s.
That is very interesting as well. Talk us through the process then of distilling your classic Capriol dry, just as simply as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, as I told you, it's 15 botanicals. We have in our distillery 2 copper stills that date back to the Second World War, 1947. And so it's the same copper stills that were used in the Distilleria dell'Alpe have been brought here to the distillery in San Pietro di Fedetto. Each one is 100 litre in capacity, so it makes you understand how small and refined our productions are. So basically we start with 15 botanicals, but only 13 are done this way, because basically the hop and the oregano that we use a different type of distillation that is a vapor distillation. So it doesn't include alcohol. And this is because they're it gives a much more gentle extraction to the product, because some botanicals like juniper need the alcohol extraction to give the best result, while some others, we use this vapor extraction that's much more delicate, but obviously you have a lot less extraction, so it's much more complex as in a production method. But then after these 15 to 20 days of infusion in the alcoholic solution, we then go and pour the infusion in the alembics, in the copper stills, and we then do the distillation, normally 3 to 4 times. This is to obtain the highest quality possible and the purest quality possible of the resulting gin, because basically you have all of the oils that are extracted by the botanicals. And so if we do more distillations, only the purest, let's say, resulting gin comes out. And so after this, obviously, we then blend together the different resulting infusions, the different resulting distillations, and then we dilute the liquids with basically water, fresh water, and that's more or less quickly how it's produced.
Okay, that's very helpful. And I think the main thing for our listeners to understand is that Capriol Gin is very much a craft product. We're talking about tiny volumes, 100-litre alembics. It's very, very small. And so each bottle is handcrafted. And I know the bottles themselves are beautiful. I've seen your bottles, and they really are beautiful objects.
Unfortunately, in some ways today, people, I think of generic people who go to shops or whatever, they look at the products on the shelves, and I think a good percentage of those are like buy the product based just on the image. It could be the label, it could be the bottle. So it could be that if you just put a great product in a simple bottle with a simple label, people won't buy it. So what we wanted to do when we relaunched the Capriol line, for example, in 2016, we wanted to use a bottle that would be beautiful to see, but also then inside you have a really high quality product. So it was to optimize, let's say, the production of this product. And as you said, I think it's very beautiful, both the Capriol, but also that I think you saw the Acqua. That's another very beautiful, but I think it's even better as in presentation.
Now, Dominic, I'd like to try to get an understanding about the culture of consumption of these products, perhaps a culture of cocktails. Is this something a younger generation are particularly turning to? And alongside of that, the culture of aperitivo. You've mentioned aperitivo. There's a very important moment of the day in Italy where cocktails or wine are part of a way of life and living, and indeed linking that also with food.
Okay, yeah. So, well, as you said, aperitivo, the aperitif is here in Italy. It's like huge. It's part of the culture. I mean, if you decide to go out to eat with friends, yes, you book the restaurant, but the first thing you do is you decide where to go for the aperitivo. So it's to make you understand how important it is. I think that each time you go out, a lot of people tend to do an aperitivo, even just daily. Even if it's just a drink, they just need it when they finish work. It's something that makes you like relax and okay, you're done with your work day and now you can just relax for the rest of the day. So it's very cultural as an aspect, and I think that's beautiful. And that's what people really, even people from abroad, when they come to Italy, they love to do that. That experience is probably the best experience that they take back home from the Italian culture. As in what people tend to do here in Italy, it's I think it depends on where you are, because in bigger cities, the aperitivo is normally paired with like you pay a certain amount for your drink, and then you're also served some food with it. So it could be that in bigger cities and larger cities, people tend to use all types of drinks and cocktails as an aperitivo. Where I'm from, that it's a smaller village, Quero near Valdobbiadene, but all of the Veneto area, I think, the aperitivo is more linked to wine and to spritz in general. Obviously, spritz is from Veneto, so it's the most common drink I would say you would have as an aperitivo. I think that this is definitely because also money wise, it's less expensive, because I know this will sound crazy for you, but like here, an Aperol Spritz, we pay it around €3.50. So people from Veneto tend to have more than one drink normally as an aperitivo. And so obviously, if you think about it, if we were to drink gin and tonics that pay 10, €12, it would be definitely a more expensive aperitivo than the one you like. With the spritz, you have two free spritz, you pay €10, and that's great. We could say that the cocktails as an aperitivo, you tend to go with products like maybe a Negroni, an Americano. Those are, I think, the strongest drinks that one normally has as an aperitif. But it's not very common to have other cocktails like, I don't know, Moscow Mule, Gin Tonic, Cosmopolitan, whatever it is. It depends a lot on where you are in Italy. And obviously, considering the, let's say, wine tradition that we have in the area, in the whole of Italy, I think that we're always going to be much more linked to wine products and wine cocktails than to other types of cocktails, as opposed to maybe other countries where you don't have this great wine background, wine tradition. When we talk about, you asked me about the pairings, it depends, because normally as an aperitivo, you normally get served maybe different types of cheese, ham, salami, whatever. And I think that all of those drinks I mentioned before pair really well with those foods. Well, then if we're talking about a dinner, I think it's absolutely you can pair cocktail with dinner. I think it's always a matter, as it is with wine, of looking at it with the, let's say, analogy or contrast of the plates and of the drinks. I see it difficult for it to take place in Italy. I think it's something that will never really happen, because in Italy people are just so in love with wine, and so it would always be the first choice when thinking about something to drink during dinner.
Yeah, well, I'm really interested in, there's been this big boom in gin in particular, and I'm interested to know who's drinking it and on what occasions. Are young people much more interested in the culture of craft gin?
So basically, I would say, to give you an idea, obviously I speak about the area where I live, but I think it's more or less the same in Italy. I think that if we talk about cocktails, especially in the evening, I think that I would say 7 out of 10 people drink a gin and tonic. So it's the perfect choice, because it's quite easy as a cocktail. It's quite easy in taste. You don't have any particular bitter notes or other strains that say taste like would have maybe with tequila or whatever. I'm not sure if you know what I mean, but gin is quite. It is, yes, very aromatic, but quite neutral. So a gin and tonic, it's quite easy to drink. And definitely the young, let's say the younger generations are looking a lot at cocktails. I think gin and tonic will always be one of the favorite choices. And absolutely, they look for, there's like a new line of thinking when everyone is looking for a smaller, a more crafted production gin. So while I think before, up to a few years ago, people would just go to the barman and say, "Make me a gin and tonic." Today, people go there and say, "I would like a gin and tonic. Can you explain what gins you have?" And so that's also why we have a much larger selection of gins on the shelves behind the bar. And I think that's great for all the small producers because they get to have their products tasted by the new generations. And let's say you always have obviously the big groups, but yeah, that would be maybe your entry level gin. But then now people say, okay, instead of having, I don't know, 3 drinks, I'll have 1 or 2, but I'll try and choose a higher quality product to have a better drink and a better experience.
Sure, that's similar to what's happening here, certainly in the UK. I would say very similar experience. And I'm imagining too, Dominic, that since you're the export sales manager, export markets are very important.
Absolutely, and I must say that unfortunately, so I started working in the company less than 1 year ago. So my main focus, absolutely, considering also my history, is to try and get the products in the UK because unfortunately we're not currently distributed with the gins in the UK. So also considering what you said about the trends being the same, I think there's definitely let's say a good possibility to get the products in. So that's going to be my total effort for this year until I manage to find someone willing to distribute and talk about our products in the UK. Absolutely. Well, then based on
Yeah. Well, I can understand that. It's a tough market because there's so many, every locality now seems to have its own distillery and people support their local producers as they do in Italy, understandably. But I'm sure you will because the products are very good. Final question. Is there any opportunity for our listeners to visit the distillery?
So currently, no, the distillery is not open to visits. We do have some visits when our clients come with, let's say, our clients in the different countries come to visit us. But at the moment, it's not open to visit because we're not, we don't have an hospitality person, and also the distillery is we don't have an hospitality area. I would say so. It's something that we're definitely going to work on because it's very important nowadays. Visits to the company, but not at the moment. So I would definitely let you know when that happens, so that we would be more than happy to have people who are listening come and visit us and discover our selection of products and our history.
Okay, that's good to know. And in the meantime, any listeners who particularly find themselves in Veneto should look out for the Capriole and the Acqua Luce range of gins and other traditional liqueurs and products. Now, Dominic, I just want to say thank you for being my guest today, for sharing your story, for sharing the story of Beniamino Maschio and the Distilleria dell'Alpe. It's been really great hearing about this, and I wish you all the best for your future endeavors.
Well, thank you very much, Mark. It was a great pleasure for me. I hope I explained everything in detail. And if you come over to visit us, do let me know, and it would be a great pleasure. So thank you to you and everyone who's listening.
Thank you, Dominic. I hope to see you soon. All the best.
All the best. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Please remember to like, share and subscribe right here or wherever you get your pods. Likewise, you can visit us at ItalianWinePodcast.com. Until next time, chin chin.